1-2. We are, good afternoon. It's 2:15. We are ready to resume. Please make sure that all your devices are quiet and silent. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Powe.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Sisoko, there's a couple of issues that I wanted us to go back to in your statement, and I'll try to do so thematically so we can move quickly. The first is short, and it relates to your annexure MS01. Just to note, Commissioners, that there was a mistake with the labeling of the annexures, and there I take full responsibility. You'll see it starts with MS01 and then the next is MS1. But we propose to leave it like that. Alternatively, we'll go 1.1. But for now, if we can turn to MS01. And it's just a clarity-seeking question regarding this document. This document seems to be discussing the secondment of investigators from IPID to the ID, correct?
That's correct.
When regard is had to it, I think it then lists the individuals to be seconded.
That's correct.
And then one of the annexures to it is that list of cases that's attached as Annexure G to this. What we wanted to understand is, as far as the dockets themselves and the movement of those dockets from IPID to the ID or IDAC as it now is, what informed that? Because this largely just speaks about the secondment of the investigators.
Chairperson and Commissioners, my understanding of MS01 is that it records the correspondence between the former ID and the then acting executive director or directors, acting executive directors, both Mr. Sinne and Mr. Sitsedi. But it records all other discussions that happened, including the issue of the handover of the dockets. At the time when this happened, I was in IPID. It was before my secondment to IDEC or ID.
All right. So you weren't involved in these deliberations?
Yes. So the deliberations happened between the two, the acting head and the head of ID at the time, Advocate Cronje. My understanding is that, as I had testified earlier, that upon the proclamation by the president of ID, when the ID then, which is IDEC now, started operating, the first thing that the investigating director at the time, Advocate Cronje, did was to write letters to the DPCI and to IPID to request the handover of all the dockets that were related to state capture matters, that were related to Mbati and Nugent Commission, as per the proclamation, but also requested the investigators who were working on these matters, because the ID at the time did not have its own resources. So they relied on secondment, or as the DPCI called it, duty reassignment of these investigators to the ID. And that is how all these matters landed in ID. So there were a number of cases that were opened when there was a lot of discussion about the state capture and the Guptas. There were a lot of dockets that were opened by civil society, by politicians, and so forth. So once the ID was established, then Advocate Grunier asked for all those matters as long as they traversed the issues that were being traversed at Zondo to come to the ID. Now that list came as a result of matters that were in IPID and were dealt with at Zondo.
All right, thank you.
Are those the only cases that came over into IDEC, the ones that were traversed, that raised issues, also touched upon? And when you say issues, I take it you mean facts that related to these dockets that are now in IPID. The same facts arose in the commission, in Zondo's commission, or commission into state capture. Is that what you mean when you say they traversed those issues?
Yes, Commissioner. So, as I understand it, the investigating director at the time, Advocate Grunier, authorized in relation to what they called security sector at that time, matters, authorized all matters that related to the testimony of Robert McBride at the Zondo Commission, but as well as all alleged procurement corruption that is alleged to have happened within the SAPS and CI and the state security. So it was sort of an all-encompassing authorization.
Thank you, Mr. Sisoko. Then can we please move on to, let's deal with your involvement in the CI-related matters. Now, in your statement, the first incident or the first occasion of your involvement, you note the 6th of December as the first time, and this is when Mr. Rapesu calls you. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you then say that he called you asking assistance to speak to General Jacobs regarding handing over dockets.
That is
Now,
correct.
in your testimony earlier, you indicated that you did not know anything about the investigation, and what you did was assume that the investigation was authorized.
That is correct.
Why did you make that assumption and not check before making the call?
Chairperson, I think, as I said earlier, that I wouldn't expect an investigator to ask for Chief Perumal to instruct someone to ask for a docket from the SAPS if a matter is not authorized in IDEC. So that is why I had assumed that it must have been authorized.
On your testimony, you had indicated that there had been sort of 2 occasions where investigations were authorized in the ID's office, and you then find out about them, as a by the way, or after the fact. In this instance, you would have known nothing, and you were requested, or you were going to call a general to hand over dockets, in fact, of live investigations, and you did nothing by way of verifying, which means if Mr. Rapesu, for example, was out on a limb and not seized with an actual investigation, you wouldn't have known. You would have participated in him acquiring dockets in a process that potentially wasn't authorized. I guess I'm trying to understand why you would take such a massive step, because it's not like you're speaking to a normal person. You're talking to General, the head of IG, the inspectorate, sorry, and asking him to hand over dockets, where in a matter you know absolutely nothing about.
That is true. In retrospect, maybe I should have asked first, but I think it's also a trust issue. I didn't expect that an investigator would ask for a docket without any authorization.
Can I just ask something about this? Your answer for me would hold if at this point you were aware that there is an investigation that is being conducted. And so when Rapesu calls you, you would, I think, reasonably assume, of course, I know about this. Not assume, you would say, of course, I know about this. And then reasonably assume that he's asking because he's been sent by Perumal. You have no reason to doubt that. I can understand on those facts. If you didn't know as of the 6th of December, 24, that something is happening, is being done relating to crime intelligence, and then you have a junior, I call him a junior, only to say he's not the chief investigator. He calls you and he says, facilitate this. If you didn't know, what he's telling you at that point is Perumal is conducting an investigation that you know nothing about. And at this point, Chief Perumal reports to you at this point. So if you didn't know, it doesn't make sense. It is curious in the absence of an explanation that you don't call Perumal and say, what is this that I hear about before I do anything to get dockets released? I'm your boss, you report to me, and then have Perumal tell you it's in the ID's office. And then maybe at that point you say, oh well, in that case, I will not interfere. That would make sense. As I say, the alternative is you knew something was happening, and that's why, and that you've been excluded from it, and that's why you respond the way you do to Rapesu. Can you just explain that?
Yeah. Commissioners, I think my actions at the time were mainly based also on my discussion with Rapesu, and in terms of how the instruction came and so forth. But I also took a view that I will take it up with Chief Perumal, which I subsequently did. But at that point in time, I must admit I did not call him immediately. I'm not quite sure, commissioners, because it's quite a while. I think we might have spoken much later on that day with Chief Perumal.
But you would probably have actioned already. If you're speaking later in the day, the question really is, before you act on something like this, we've had evidence that says, actually on the 6th it was very busy. People were very busy. That's the day that I think a section 2813 was issued.
Yes.
There was clearly lots of activity in the office. And unless you were not in the office, it's difficult to understand that you would not have been aware, even if you are not closely involved, but that you were completely unaware that this is brewing, this is happening. And then, firstly, as a fact, that you were not aware at all. You're the second in command. People report to you. And then Rapesu calls you, and you deal with it so compliantly on your statement. Obviously, he calls you because he thinks you know something about this, you're involved with this, you're the head of investigations. And then you are compliant, you facilitate without asking any questions. I don't understand that. And what makes sense to me, and let me put it to you so that you can comment. What makes sense to me is at the 6th of December, when Rapesu calls you, you had an idea. You must have had an idea of what you may have disapproved. You may have decided to distance yourself from it for the reasons that you have given and any other reason. But the picture that this creates is you must have been aware that something about crime intelligence investigations was going on. And I'll just do what they ask me to do, and I don't want any part to it. What do you say to that?
Commissioner, if that was the case, I would have considered to it. As I said, and I think even Mr. Rapesu would have testified to the fact that when he spoke to me, he realized that I wasn't aware of it. So I wasn't aware of it. Yes, I did facilitate, and in fact, if my memory serves me well, at the time when I spoke with General Jacobs, because that date was on a Friday, and General Jacobs would have indicated that he must come on a Monday, Mr. Rapesu. So my thinking at the time was that I will then follow up with Chief Perumal about this matter.
Thank you.
And if we can then move on chronologically about what happened next. You then speak about the meeting that was convened by the ID and the report to the Minister of Police. To deal with that one, I'm going to ask that we look at file 10 at page 251. Maybe just to introduce the document itself, this is an affidavit by Ms. Ramsamy that she says the purpose of it was to deal with the events. This is around when Mr. Rapesu was being charged with having leaked information. And so she did an affidavit about what she knew surrounding those events. And it was commissioned, I think, on the 3rd of March. Just need to double check. Oh, my apologies. It's dated 1 April 2025. You know why it's because of this. Oh. Now, if we can then go to paragraph 6.18. You'll see there, I don't propose to read the entire paragraph, but if you look at the last sentence, oh goodness, I realize that it might, the whole paragraph might be the sentence. So it just says, on 16 January 2025, there was a scheduled meeting with a deputy director, senior investigator, Binang, and myself in the ID's office on another matter. After that meeting was concluded, I asked the ID if I may see her privately on another matter. The other parties were excused. I then asked the ID if the designation had been extended to Belochan for diversion, and I explained why. As per paragraph 6.16, I expressed my concern after the ID informed me that she was not aware that Belochan was party to that consultation. The ID then sent an email to all designated members and the head of operations, Mr. Sisoko, for a presentation to take place on the 22nd of January 2025, and I was told to note my concerns in the presentation. Do you recall an email of this nature from the ID?
No, Chair, I can't particularly recall. As I said in my statement, that there were a number of meetings that were called, some of which I can't remember the contents thereof, but it's possible that there was such an email.
Yes, and this meeting, the one that happens on the 22nd, is the one that you are referencing at paragraph 36 of your statement. You'll recall in your testimony, you confirmed that you suspect that this would have been the meeting of the 22nd of January.
Yes.
Now, the day before that meeting, Advocate Ransami then emails the presentation, and for that we need to go to page 216 in the same file 10.
Two.
Do you have it?
Yes.
You'll see there that Ms. Ramsamy, on the 19th of January at 12:54, emails to you and the ID the presentation in question. And in the body of her email, it says, "My apologies for emailing over the weekend. The presentation is due tomorrow and the team are engaged in various tasks attached for your perusal." So in this instance, you weren't copied. This was sent to you, this presentation. Do you recall if you read it prior to the meeting?
I cannot particularly recall, but obviously if it was sent, I would have looked at the presentation, and it probably would have formed part of the meeting of the 22nd.
Okay. And in instances where you were sent these kind of presentations regarding, this would be the plan for what is termed Operation Diversion, what is your role in those circumstances?
Well, normally you expect that there will be a presentation by the team on the matter that is being investigated, whether there are decisions that have to be taken in relation to that investigation or not. And if it's called by the ID, it's normally because the ID wants to give specific directions in that investigation.
When you say the ID would give specific directions, in this meeting, are you also not engaged in these types of meetings?
No, there will be engagement by everyone in the meeting.
Yeah, so you'll be an active participant?
Yes, everyone will participate, but normally it will be the team itself. So the team will present and say what their views is about the case, where they are about the case, and if there are issues that we as management want to raise in relation to that, then we'll raise those issues. If there are issues of concern that are raised there, they will be discussed, and then there would be then a decision in terms of how to move forward with those matters.
So your role is to be there as management and to deal with issues that arise in those meetings?
Yes.
Right. And then so because this was sent to you in preparation of this meeting, you would have read, so by this date, you would know of this Operation Diversion. You would now know.
Yes, now I know.
All right. Now let's go into the presentation.
Before you go to the presentation, can I say, Mr. Soko, that this email of the 19th of January, which is addressed to you and the ID, but in fact it is preceded, as we have seen, by an instruction by the ID that you should also be emailed about a presentation. What it suggests is that at this point, the ID had not excluded you from these matters as covered in the presentation at least. She had not excluded you. Otherwise, she may well have taken the matter. It's an ID matter in the way that you described it, without going through the process in the manual, without engaging you. She took the matter on. But as of the 19th of January 2025, she quite clearly, and in fairness to her, whatever else she does that is wrong, in fairness to her, she hasn't excluded you at this point. You and as you are going to be discussing the presentation, you participate in that meeting. You describe that, you say to Ms. Bowe that everybody gets to participate. We get to express our views. So what we know and what we must conclude from this is that at the latest 19th January 2025, you are involved in these matters, in this project that is called diversion. And the ID at this point has not excluded you.
Yeah. Chair, I wouldn't describe it as being involved. I would say I'm aware now that there is this matter. Because remember that what happens is the email is sent to me, yes, and then there's going to be a meeting. My expectation is that that's when I'm going to get more details about this matter and as to what are the issues in relation to this matter.
Yeah, I suppose you and everybody else that didn't know anything that was in this presentation would find out at this meeting, at this presentation, what this is about, which you do. You do, and we will get there. At this point, I'm making the simple point that after taking the matter from wherever she got it, when we've had a long debate about how this matter lands with the ID, but having taken that matter on the 19th of January, but in fact earlier than that, when she gives an instruction that you should be invited, a presentation should be prepared and you should be invited. And then as at the 19th of January, you are part of this. However it plays out later, we are not yet at how it plays out. We are at, this tells us she hadn't excluded you. So
Yes,
you,
at this
and
point,
you
yes.
do receive the presentation.
I concede
You
to
do look at it. In prep of that meeting, you look at it. If you didn't, it's a choice that you made, but it's given to you to look at. So you do get to become familiar with what's supposed to be discussed come the 22nd of January.
Yes, I concede
That's
to
correct.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Do you have it? Okay. Then before we get into the presentation, I just want to note one thing. In that affidavit from Ms. Ramsamy, she notes that on the 16th, Advocate Johnson had asked for your inclusion, said there'll be a meeting and all of those who are designated would be there as well as yourself. You recall that? That's what we read earlier. Do you recall that?
No, I don't recall that. I'm not sure. Are you saying that I was part of that conversation with?
No, I'm not saying you're part of the conversation. I'm saying that, do you recall when we read that paragraph, that what Ms. Ramsamy was explaining was that on the 16th, Advocate Johnson was asking for your inclusion into this meeting where this operation would be discussed.
Yes, I've seen that, yes.
Yes. Now you'll note, I just want you to note that this presentation was initially prepared by Chief Paramore. And when Chief Paramore sends that presentation, he's the one actually who excludes you. And it's Advocate Ramsamy who then sends it to the team, including yourself and Ms. Johnson. It's one of your investigators.
Okay.
Now, and I just want us just to note that for now.
Okay.
Now let's go into the actual presentation. This is still in file 10. It's then basically 2 pages down at page 218. You'll see there's an introduction that deals with crime intelligence. My apologies, it starts with the cover page says Operation Diversion. The introduction deals with crime intelligence and that they're plagued with corruption and allegations which threaten, they say, the country's national security. So it's all there in that. But what I want to draw your attention to is the background section. And in that section, you'll see that they detail the affidavit that was received in terms of Section 27. And then it notes the allegations that IDAC was to initiate investigations into. It's a fictitious housebreaking incident. And then there's the procurement of a forklift using CI COVID funds. There is promotions or appointment, in brackets, gratification to specific senior managers. And it goes on about abuse of COVID funds to, and then mentions the purchase of property, the PKTT, and the use of the funds to pay for hotels. Now, you would be reading this and then learning about the nature of the things that IDAC was to investigate. And on the face of it, some of them don't appear to fall under IDAC's mandate. I'll draw an example to the procurement of a forklift, for example. That's point 2 of the allegations. When you're reading those and you're seeing what appears to be things that on the face of it don't fall within the mandate, what goes through your mind?
Commissioners, my view at the time, the presentation is not normally a detail. So the meeting would give a detail. So I honestly did not raise eyebrows with it, with the understanding that when we get to the meeting, we'll get to understand what this investigation is about.
But did you then get that detail at the meeting?
Yes, as I had testified earlier, Chairperson, that when the team members explained what is alleged here, it was how it was presented was that there is corruption, manipulation of processes, there is issues of gratification and so forth. So those were things that were discussed in the meeting that then said, justified why the matter was in IDAC. But also, for me, it was because the ID had authorized it. I did not question much about what is being presented would be something that does not necessarily fall within the mandate.
But the issue was about the mandate itself, and as I understand it, the substance of the question by Ms. Poe is whether all these indeed fell under the mandate. And that question cannot be answered purely by the ID having authorized what was going on. The question of the mandate is a legal question answerable in terms of the statutory mandate. So I'm not sure that what you say answers that part of Ms. Bower's question.
Chair, as I'm saying that at the time, based on what was presented, that's how I understood it, that what the team members were presenting to say what it's alleged and what is being investigated would then, the offenses would then fall within the IDEC mandate.
And Ms. Bower specifically refers to the procurement of a forklift, and she suggests to you that that could not possibly have fallen under IP's mandate. You say all the questions were answered. Was that question or that issue answered? That specific issue?
If my memory serves me well, commissioners.
If so, how? How? Because unless, for example, you are able to say there's fraud, there's corruption, or there's corruption insofar as the procurement was concerned. If there wasn't corruption in relation to that procurement, then it would have been an offense falling under IDEC's mandate insofar as there is provision for certain specified statutory offenses, but those, at least on our interpretation thus far, those should be additional related offenses, and we interpret the additional related to be additional and related to the other offenses specified as falling under IDEC's mandate. So Ms. Bowe is suggesting to you that the procurement of the forklift could not possibly have fallen under IP's mandate.
Commissioners, as I remember what was presented at the time, the issue of the forklifts, it was not one forklift, what I remember. It was a number of forklifts. And this irregular procurement was alleged to have cost the SAPS millions. So
it's not the amount that would make an offense fall under IP's mandate. It's its nature in terms of what the Act provides for. It's not the magnitude of the amount involved.
Commissioners, my understanding...
Or don't you agree?
My understanding at the time was that...
Don't you agree? Don't you agree to the proposition I've just made? That it's not just the magnitude of the amount involved, because that's what you said in response to my last question.
Commissioners, how I understood it is that it falls within the mandate in the context of financial, a financial offense as provided for in the Act, and also the fact that the amounts involved also. So when I looked at it, or at least from what the presentation was made, I understood it in that context. And I didn't question why it is not in our mandate. And there were debates about it, but ultimately it was settled that it was within mandate.
Am I mistaken? Why do I seem to recall that mention has been of a forklift singular? You are talking about many forklifts. I'm not aware that that's the evidence. Everybody has been talking about forklift singular.
Yeah.
Chair, even the presentation indicates it's a forklift.
Yes.
And even what's on evidence, it's a forklift, and it cost around about, I think it was about 200 and something thousand.
Have a look at page 322. The very first bullet on that page, the procurement of a forklift. And indeed, that accords with my recollection of the evidence throughout this IDEX stream of testimony. So you say a huge amount was involved because there were several forklifts. So your point about several forklifts and therefore a huge amount of money falls away is just one forklift.
I see what is in the presentation, Commissioners, but
Yeah.
I'm talking about what was presented, as I recall it.
But how can that be? How can it be that when the testimony of everybody, including Advocate Johnson and your other colleagues, everybody has been talking about one forklift? How could they, at the presentation, have spoken about many forklifts? I'm inclined not to believe that there ever was such a presentation, Mr. Sissoko.
Chair, I may be mistaken, but that's how I recall it.
If you are wrong, would there be a basis for having thought that this fell under IDEX mandate?
No, it wouldn't be.
Yes. Spoil.
Thank you, Chair. I recall that when Commissioner Kumalo asked the Advocate Johnson, what does the procurement of a forklift that wasn't delivered have to do with IDEX mandate, she too couldn't explain. Now, while we're dealing with this meeting, let's leave aside the aspects of the 27 referral. One of the major things that happens in this meeting is, and you note that also in your affidavit, is the issue around reporting to the minister comes up. And in particular, the ID indicates that she would do so through the Office of the Chief of Staff, Mr. Nkabinde. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And when that happens, you then indicate to her that it's not a good idea because Mr. Nkabinde is not
That is
compromised.
correct.
Right. And then the ID asks for information related to this. And
That is
then
correct.
you agree that you would provide this information.
That is correct.
What did you understand that she would do with this information once obtained?
That she would alert the minister and the advisor to the minister, Advocate Pikoli.
And to your knowledge, was that the only thing that was intended with this information?
Well, at the time of the meeting, that was what was said. But subsequently, when I provided her with the information, then she instructed that senior investigator Badiachi should look into those allegations.
And on what basis would senior investigator Badiachi be looking into those matters?
Chair, I assumed that because they have been raised, and the documentation that I've shown her or given to her that come from the analysts show that there is that collusion. I must hasten to say, as I've indicated in my statement, that this is a matter, what I refer to as the blue light investigation. And as I understood, before I even went to IDEC, that there was a consideration to charge Mr. Nkabinde related to that matter on what was discovered during that investigation. However, the DDPP responsible for that matter at the time took a view that they shouldn't include that, because as I understood, there was an addition to the accused before, and there was a fear that when they add further accused, they might face a 342A application by the defense. So they didn't want the matter to be removed from the court roll. And the view that was taken at the time was that the matter will be dealt with later outside of the blue lights investigation.
Mr. Soko, in the normal course, IDEC and NPA, they account to the Minister of Justice.
That is correct.
Did you not find it odd that the ID is reporting back to the Minister of Police in relation to ongoing investigations where the Minister of Police is not the complainant? Because by the time you went to the meeting, you must have known that according to the presentation, Mr. Adams is the complainant. So did you not find it odd that you are now assisting the ID to report to the Minister of Police on matters that have nothing to do with him? And is that not interference in IDEC matters?
Well, Commissioners, it would seem like that. However, at the time, because I think she would have mentioned that there was a letter from the minister, then I think it was the context why she had to report to the minister. That's how I understood it.
Assuming there was a letter from the minister, do you not find it odd that the IDEC, is reporting to the Minister of Police on ongoing investigations when he's not the complainant? The complainant is Mr. Adams. So why does IDEC report to the Minister of Police on ongoing investigations?
Commissioners, in retrospect, I realized that maybe I should have raised that, but I did not raise it. And maybe it should not have been the case.
And you assisted. It's not a question of just you not raising it. It's a question of you saying, actually, let me assist you. Let me get you dead on Nkabinde to show the minister that he's not the person we should be reporting through.
My view, Commissioners, at the time was that based on the history that I know of Nkabinde, I was worried about that communication that goes through Mr. Nkabinde. So that is how I looked at it.
My issue is that your worry is misplaced. Your worry should have been, why are we reporting to the Minister of Police on ongoing IDEC investigations?
I take the point.
Forget who his secretary or whose chief of staff is. We should not be reporting to the Minister of Police on ongoing investigations where he's not even the complainant. The complainant is Mr. Adams.
I take the point, Commissioner.
What you did is you opened a line of investigation in relation to Mr. Nkabinde, which you later complain about, and you say you subsequently learned that a 41-6 or a 28-13, I can't remember which is which, has been authorized in relation to the leak to Mr. Nkabinde.
I'm not sure I understand.
The investigation to find out what cases Mr. Nkabinde is involved in, and that report which you attached to your statement, you
Yes.
came up with that because you said you don't trust Mr. Nkabinde, he's dishonest. The ID then said to you, find information for me, which you then did and you submitted to her.
That is correct.
And as a result of that, somebody told Mr. Nkabinde, we don't know who, that IDEC is investigating him.
That is
The
correct.
domino effect of that is that the 41-6 in relation to one of your colleagues was then authorized, which you say is unlawful.
That is correct.
Yes. So you set it in motion.
Yes, in a way, it appears like that, yes.
Yeah, may I just also raise my concern about this, that you became complicit to an investigation into Nkabinde, because there is now an investigation, because you said what you did. But you participate in that investigation because you go and find information on something that you volunteered. You're the one that volunteers it. And then there's an investigation, but that investigation is not founded on anything in the act. The investigation, there's no complaint, there's nothing. But you're all happy to investigate Mr. Nkabinde on the back of what you have said, and you don't have a problem with that. You're the second in charge. You don't say, hang on, I was just sharing for purposes of communication. Because if that's all you were doing, as a rule, the one who holds the rules and who should be holding your people, your investigators, to your manual and to your rules, you in fact become complicit in an investigation into Mr. Nkabinde. And from where I'm sitting, it's no different from what Mr. Perumal has been doing, which is conducting investigations or participating in investigations that do not comply with your manual, that actually do not have a basis in your act. Because this which you are now investigating about Mr. Nkabinde, it doesn't arise from the act. It doesn't. And in that way, you put yourself in a position where you are no better than what, in fact, Ms. Johnson does on this. You're just as liable, or should be just as liable on this. If it's a point of criticism that an investigation was conducted on Mr. Nkabinde, it applies equally to you. Do you want to comment?
Yes, Commissioner. As I said earlier, that the issue of Mr. Nkabinde was part of the Blue Lights investigation. Now, at the time, as I've indicated, that the DPP that was responsible for matter had parked that issue. Now, the ID, when she instructed Mr. Pariati that she must look into the matter, in my own understanding, would have been the extension of that investigation on the Blue Lights. But as it turned out, because of what happened in relation to the allegations of the leak, my understanding is that even that issue was never taken up.
Can be that you believed that it is an extension of that investigation. The DDPP has taken a position how he's going to handle that matter. This investigation arises on your words, and I think Ms. Ramsame's words. It is the ID says, find me dead on this person. It's not, it's in fact an investigation for ulterior purposes, not for the original purpose of the Blue Lights. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, he gave the minister, the ID, heebie-jeebies. I can't think of another word, sorry. Ms. Ramsame said, that's what the ID said. I don't like this guy, he gave me the heebie-jeebies. And then you say, oh, don't actually send stuff to him, because I don't trust him. And then she says, find me stuff about him. That has nothing to do with your Blue Lights investigation. And you must accept that. It is because the ID is looking for something on him that will enable, according to her, warn the minister that do not trust him. So I'm sorry, the answer is not, your explanation now that, well, it was a resuscitation, it's not, that's not what happened here. Can we please accept that?
Commissioner, I would concede based on what you are saying to me now. But at the time, that's how I honestly looked at it.
Maybe let me ask you a last question. At this point, what was the nature of your relationship with the ID that hopefully provides an explanation of your posture when she's doing clearly things that are wrong? Because it is wrong, this investigation. And that's not me saying there was no merit in the blue lights thing that you've decided to park against him. I'm talking about here what I say the motive had nothing to do with the blue lights, had with how she claims he made her feel, but also now she wants to warn the minister. For you not to say to the ID, no, that's wrong, we shouldn't be doing that, and you're the second in command at this point, your investigators report to you. What's the nature of your relationship at this point?
We've always had a good relationship with the ID. I cannot say that the relationship was strained or anything at that point in time.
Nothing that precluded you saying to her, maybe we shouldn't do this. This investigation now that we are starting, I was being helpful only for purpose of communication, but now that you're speaking about investigating him, I think it's wrong, it doesn't comply with our law, it's not anticipated in our mandate. Nothing stopped you saying that to her?
Nothing stopped me saying it, and I didn't say it.
Okay, thank you.
And then just on the last thing on this point, I just want us to go back to Ms. Ramsami's affidavit at page 252. At paragraph 2.27. 6.27, my apologies. And to share it with all of us. He also asked Rapesu about a case. I cannot recall the exact acronym, KMP or KGP. Rapesu then replied that he would send same. And these are matters that were during your time at IPID. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And it seems unrelated to the blue lights.
Yes.
All right. So those are the first set of documents you are going to provide to Advocate Johnson.
No, the documents that I was going to provide was what came from the data analyst.
Yes, that comes up later. So this
Yes.
one, you had asked Rapesu about this and that he must share those transcripts with everyone.
Yes, that was in relation to the KJP matter, where there was a credibility finding against Nkabinde.
Yes. So what I want to show you is that it was not only that Mr. White report, there was more that was shared about Mr. Nkabinde. So that's the first, it's the transcript. And do you recall anything about the KMP or KGP matter?
It's KGP.
That too was to be shared.
Yeah, that relates to the transcript.
Okay. Then it says that further discussion ensued by Siseko, including the fact that there is currently a case in Code Blue Lights where Chabalala is a prosecutor and Benang is the IO, and there were links to Nkabinde. So this one is the one that...
Yes, that's the one I was referring to.
And so that's the one with the analysts was supposed
Yes.
to provide the report, and that you provided. Okay. Was on his way to the office and wanted to see me. When I went to his office, I found Binang and Chabalala. The discussion was about White's report. Chabalala indicated that a standalone prosecution case can ensue and Binang can start finalizing the investigation. Sisoko indicated that he did not want any of the IPID investigators to deal with this matter and that a neutral IDAC investigator should pursue the investigation. So if you consider the deliberation that you just had with the commissioners, it's clear that you were steeped into this investigation into Mr. Nkabinde.
Yes, for
And you
me,
were having meetings to see how you can then further it.
yes, for me was the issue of furthering what had been parked in relation to the Blue Lights Matter.
But you are not furthering it because it was parked in the Blue Lights Matter. If that was the case, then it would have emanated from a discussion with the team, with the investigator Binang, Chabalala, whoever would have been the DDPP in that instance. This flows directly from your meeting with the ID where you had expressed suspicion about Mr. Nkabinde.
Yes, it's true. It flowed from
Yes,
from
so you're
that.
not furthering that investigation. This is a completely different investigation that stems from the ID's office.
I did not look at it that way. I looked at it as taking further that Blue Lights investigation.
I want to make reference to one more thing. If we can go to page 245 of file 10.
245.
Yes. You will see there it's WhatsApp exchanges. My apologies, 243. If we can just go up. You'll see those are WhatsApp exchanges between Ms. Ramsamy and Advocate Johnson. And there you'll see that before that, there is communication about other prosecutions that were ongoing, and then they talk about the White Report, which you assisted in obtaining. And then if you go down, you'll see that she then says to Ms. Johnson, can Mr. Sissoko and I brief you in detail when you are available today or Monday to give you a full picture? There is more than what we actually thought, and get direction, because he was supposed to be charged on these things in 2019. Now, when you consider the chronology of what happens from when Mr. Nkabinde's name came up in that meeting, what it seems like happened is that Ms. Johnson referred to Mr. Nkabinde. You may have, at the beginning, innocently indicated your concerns around Mr. Nkabinde, but what follows was an investigation, a full-blown investigation, and using investigations that were ongoing or matters that were ongoing in IDAC in order to deal with Mr. Nkabinde.
Chair, I consider that there were these discussions. And as that WhatsApp message shows, remember, these issues were already part of that Blue Lights investigation. So the report was already there. So it was not like there was new thing that was to be started in terms of investigating, at least based on the report that was already there on the Blue Lights investigation.
Ms. Boyce, 6.42 of the affidavit.
Thank you. Let's go to 6.42, where Ms. Ramsamy says, Sissoko proceeded to explain to the ID and Paramore the links as per 42. No, Commissioners, I was told that the witnesses file broke, and so this is why it takes slightly longer to get everything sorted.
Yes, I'm there.
It says, Sissoko proceeded to explain to the ID and Paramore the links as per the charts, I think means chats, provided by White. There were discussions about the investigation that needs to proceed. Paramore indicated that Belachan can continue with the investigation. Sissoko stated the sentiments he shared in the meeting as per paragraph 6.39. The ID agreed and stated that Parayachi would then attend to the investigation. Can you see that?
I see that.
Your involvement continues after this as well. If you look at what happens at paragraph 6.44, on 30th January 2025, Sissoko contacted me regarding the authorization documents for the Nkabinde matter. I sent the ID a WhatsApp asking if that authorization should be done in terms of which form of authorization. ID advised me that she will check and further advise that something terrible has happened and I was not to discuss Nkabinde matter with Rapesu or Sissoko. I advised her that my discussions on the matter were limited to herself, Paramore, and Sissoko, but would cease communicating until I had spoken to her personally. Now, what you'll note there is there's a communication there about authorizations and how those would be done. Now, if this was an extension of an ongoing investigation, wouldn't it be simply an authorization in terms of that existing authorization?
Yes, that's what it's supposed to be, and that's how at least I understood it at the time. But I see that she was asking about authorization.
In fact, he's saying you were asking about the authorization document on the Nkabinde matter. So it couldn't have been an extension of those existing matters.
I cannot recall asking for authorization. I don't think I would have asked for authorization when I knew that the Blue Lives Matter has been authorized.
Thank you. And then I just want to put one more thing to you. If you go back to your statement. And my apologies, not even your statement, annexure MS7. Which is an email that Mr. Nkabinde sends to the investigator, Mr. Mbalo. And this is when he was being asked to produce an affidavit. And this is then his response to Advocate Johnson. In particular, if we can have a look at paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. And it says, what I was told was not a surprise to me because I knew it was based on jealousy and hatred by Sissoko and his team, who were my former colleagues in IPID. And because of our past, which was on the public domain, I knew that if indeed they had any genuine complaints about me, they would not wait for 7 years because I know I am the number one enemy. So now, because I got a decent job, plots of such nature are starting. When I called Advocate Johnson, I was alerting her of a plot against me not to lay a complaint. If I intended to lay a complaint, I was going to do so formally in writing. Now, I just wanted to get your comment to that, because in my mind, it's either that this whole investigation was furthering this, Commissioner Baloyi, because of the heebie-jeebie moment, I want to say this heebie-jeebie related matters.
I couldn't think of a better way.
the discomfort that Advocate Johnson had, and now there's this campaign to deal with Mr. Nkabinde. Alternatively, could it be what Mr. Nkabinde says about your relationship with him? So I just want to put it to you to respond, because he says he thinks this campaign is because of your history with each other.
Commissioners, it's true that we have history with Nkabinde, and I'm the one who removed him from an investigation team after we had found that he was colluding with suspects in our investigation. So it's understandable that from his point of view, he thinks that I had an agenda or I wanted to get back at him for some reason. But I never had that kind of an agenda for him. For me, it has always been that because of what I knew and his involvement in criminality, he had to be held accountable for it. That is all what was in my mind at all given time.
Thank you. Then I want to deal with another aspect that emerged from this meeting, and this is a tasking that was given to you in relation to meeting with the IGI. Do you remember that? Maybe
Yes,
just
yes.
to show you where that emanates from, if we can go to, we'll display it because I don't recall asking that file 11 be brought, but we'll just display it on the screen. And then it's also in the supplementary statement at paragraph 16. Ms. Ramsamy is supplementary. I'll just read from the supplementary, which is page 9 of her supplementary statement. She says, after she set out the various investigations, Advocate Johnson said that we are to investigate corruption, PFMA violations, and the Secret Service account. Mr. Sissoko was tasked with arranging a meeting with the IGI, which did occur. Right. And now this is in relation now to Project Diversion, is it not?
Yes, it was. If I remember well, they needed some documents from IGI, so I was asked to arrange a meeting with IGI.
And I think what I want to say with this is that it speaks to your involvement. So it's not that you're there passively, is that you are now being involved in this matter. Can you see that?
I see that.
What documents were being requested? Or do you recall?
From my recollection was that the IGI would have conducted some investigation, and they needed some documents in relation to that. So that meeting was about that, but the IGI indicated that they cannot provide that information.
Excuse me, the IGI didn't provide it.
They cannot provide that information.
And was it only related to that? Because if I recall correctly, Ms. Ramsamy said she was also part of this meeting. Was it only about the documents?
That's how I recall it.
All right, thank you. Now, the next aspect I wanted to deal with. If we can go back to your statement, I think I'm done dealing with the meeting. One aspect I wanted to ask you about in relation to the investigation into this leak or Mr. Nkabinde's alleged complaint, or rather Advocate Johnson's complaint, really. Now, what develops, and this is what you testified to earlier, is that it then became clear that it was not only Mr. Rapesu that was being implicated, it was yourself and Mr. Binang who were being implicated in this.
That is correct.
For what reason was this being done? I can only imagine that you've thought about this and you may know a reason why this is being done, particularly given the fact that you are the person who raised these complaints and obtained these documents that were dealing with Mr. Nkabinde. So it seems bizarre that you would at the same time be the leak. So why do you think this whole investigation was being done against Mr. Rapesu, yourself, and Mr. Binang?
Well, I do not really understand why the investigator would insinuate my involvement, because he says he received information that I revealed something to Mr. Binang. But in retrospect, I'm thinking that it must have to do with the fact that there was a conflict between Mr. Perumal and Mr. Rapesu. And therefore, they just wanted to implicate everyone that is formally from IPID. That's how I thought it could have been the reason. But I'm just speculating.
Thank you. Now, I want to just deal with another aspect related to your involvement with this project Operation Diversion. If we can go to the set of screenshots that were provided by Ms. Ramsamy. Now, I don't propose we go through all of them because there are many. Commissioners, they would have been inserted into your files, file 10, and it should be at the end of file 10.
Oh, 10.
Yes, it would be page 405. Commissioner Kumalo, did they not? Yes. I think the one that was inserted into your files has pagination, is the difference. I just want to go through it.
You said we go to page 4 what?
405.
405, thank you. And my file is also about to break.
Chair, maybe it's a sign we must stop.
Yes, Ms. Bowen.
You'll see there that after the meeting of the 22nd, so the first email is the one sent on the 19th, but you'll see thereafter that at least from Ms. Ramsami's point of view, she starts copying you in the emails related to project diversion. You see that? So the next one on page 406 is related to the housebreaking that would have been the Lushaba issue.
Yes.
Maybe a correction, Ms. Bowe. It's not a copying, it's an address. It's as I see it. He's not copied. He's one of the addresses.
My apologies. Yes, this one is addressed to you. And it was in particular in relation to statements and diary entries made by Mr. Rapesu. If you go to the next page, you'll see that this was also addressed to you and Ms. Johnson, and this is in respect of the prosecutor's instructions not being taken as disrespect by the investigators.
Yes.
And they, you as the head of investigations are also, you get this email.
That's correct.
And I'm assuming she expects that you deal with it because Chief Perimo is a subordinate of yours. You see that? Now, if you go on, you'll see that the next one is in relation to a report. And if I'm not mistaken, this is again the Lushaba matter. If you continue, you'll see an email.
Please keep giving phone numbers for the transcript. You
At
keep
page
saying the
4
next one.
Oh, my apologies. At page 407, it's the one in relation to Ms. Ramsami's complaints about her instructions being regarded as disrespect by the investigators. At page 408 is a report that comes from Mr. Rapesu. And there you were copied. And this, as I understand, was in relation to the Lushaba matter, where he had done a preliminary report. Then at page 409, you were also copied in an email to Advocate Johnson related to the SAPS Tembisa hospital tender. And then at page 410, that one I want to deal with, because you'll see in the subject matter it says diversion arrest, and this is addressed to you from Advocate Johnson, where, and commissioners will get the full emails because this is cut, but here Advocate Johnson.
Maybe also put the date on record.
Yes, this is on the 4th of June 2025 at 9:24 a.m. Advocate Johnson says to you, Sisoko, I asked Dylan to let me know when they will arrest, as I need to inform the NDPP. He indicated that the main accused is on leave, etc., and they might push for this afternoon. I let him know that I don't agree. I cannot tell the NDPP today that we are arresting today. What will our urgency be based on? In addition, the DPP is not a rubber stamp and should be given an opportunity to read the papers. I suggest we wait for 2 weeks when the main accused is back at work and then proceed. I'm also aware that accused 4 is not in Gauteng. The team must use the next 2 weeks to determine exactly where all the accused are. When we do arrest, we should be able to pick them all up at one go. Now, again, this doesn't look like it's sent to someone who is not in the know. This looks like it's sent to someone who is part of the team and part of what is being done.
It is correct that it looks like that way.
So, and can this commission take it as a fact that you were then involved?
Commissioners, these discussions did happen, and as you will see that I'm in the email.
Please, can you please answer the question directly? Is it so that you were involved?
Yeah, I will concede that I was involved.
Thank you.
So your earlier answer that you only became aware after the arrest, that was not correct, because this email says the arrests are still to happen and they are being planned.
Yes, I did not say I only became aware after the arrest. I said the takedown.
Isn't that the same thing?
No, because there's a planning on the takedown. But yes, I see from the email that I was made aware that there's an intention to arrest.
Then, having accepted your involvement, I then think a lot of the correspondence makes sense, because we know that, for example, when there was an issue with the Section 27, Advocate Sirunye sends a message to you as well, saying there's this issue of this 27. Similarly, Advocate Ramsamy also sends a long explanation about the Section 27, and there too, you are a recipient. I'm just going to go to it. I think you were copied, and that's at page 402 of file 10. You'll see the email was sent on the 9th of October 2025. And it says Section 27 referral if Adams in the subject line.
Yes.
And you'll see there she does a long explanation about her account of what happened with the Section 27 referral. And in particular, I want to draw your attention to 1.4, where she says, on the 10th of June 2025 in your office, where a meeting was held with myself, Mr. Sissoko, Mr. Perimo, Mr. Padiachi, Mr. Mlambo, and Mr. Charles, I indicated that we needed the documents in the folder. At that point, we were all packing to move offices. You indicated I should text you the following day and that you would look for it through the many boxes. And this was this for the arrest? Because this happens around the time that you were planning and discussing the arrest under Operation Diversion.
Yeah, I think it would have been. I think it would have been.
Okay, again, it just speaks to involvement. I think now that we know that you were involved, we can move past this, and there's one other
4112
aspect.
maybe, 4112.
4112. Oh, thank you, Advocate Kumalo. Commissioner Kumalo. We can then just continue with those. There's then another email that is sent by Mr. Rapesu in relation, this is at page 411, in relation to the chain of collection for the dockets that you assisted with. And then at page 412, you'll see that this is an email that's sent to you, from you. And there you had done a project diversion media statement, as we're made to understand. Do you recall that?
No, I cannot recall that.
All right. We'll obtain that email as well as the annexure. And then at page 413, you'll see you were copied on an email in relation to the charge sheet in the Lushaba matter.
Yes.
And this was an email that was sent to General Mashamula in June 2025, on the 20th of June 2025. Then at page 414, you'll see that is a calendar invite for a meeting on project diversion. And you were one of the participants. At 415, my apologies, let me just place the date on record. This 24 July at 7:05 a.m. At page 415, you were copied on an email regarding leg 1 of project diversion, which was the Lushaba matter. And this email was on 16 October 2025. At 416, there was a meeting request for further particulars in one of the cases. And again, here I'm not sure if you were copied or if it was sent to you, but you were part of that email chain. And that was on 22 October 2025 at page 417. You'll see that was an email with the subject line diversion case 1 and 2. This would have been Lushaba and the Kumalo matters. And there you were copied on an email dated January 27, 2026. And then on page 418, this is a 28 affidavit. This is division leg 1, diversion leg 1, and this was related to the Lushaba matter, and this email was on the 28th of January 2026. This is not the sum total. I had just requested Advocate Ramsamy to provide me the correspondence that was shared amongst the team, including yourself, on these matters since the meeting of the 22nd of January.
From all this, it appears that you were involved throughout.
That is correct, Chief.
Some emails were sent to you directly. On others, you were copied. And besides just emails being sent to you, some of these say there were requests for meetings. You yourself have said that you did attend meetings.
That is correct.
And then also and crucially, you have also accepted that you would attend to what I may loosely call logistical matters. You would personally pursue those, make requests to, let me say, people outside of IDEC, make requests, get information that was required for purposes of these investigations. So all of that paints a picture of you being fully involved. You accept that?
I accept it.
Yeah. Yes, yes, Ms. Bowen.
And then one other thing I want to quickly touch on is if we go to file 11, I know you don't have it, so I'm going to ask you to look at your screens. And you will recall that these are notes from Ms. Ramsamy where she was telling us about one of the contents of a meeting, which happened on it's the same meeting on the 22nd of January. And in that meeting, one of the things that was discussed was essentially a plan to and this was something that Advocate Johnson said, a plan to catch out the National Commissioner. And the idea was that they wouldn't tell the National Commissioner about investigation. He would then be summoned to Parliament to account, and then he would lie, and then he would be caught out. And this plan was discussed at this very meeting where you attended. I don't know if you recall that plan.
I don't recall any discussion about such a plan.
You were in the meeting.
I'm not sure on which
What is
date.
the date of
22 January.
It's the meeting of the 22 January, yes, where the presentation was made.
I honestly don't recall that discussion about the setting up of the NASCOM.
And you'll see it happens just before there's a discussion about that IGI meeting that you were to facilitate.
I see that.
Mr. Soko, it is of sufficient gravity and importance that if you were at that meeting, I would expect you to remember. I don't think it's every day unless you are telling us that you sat in meetings where every day this topic about setting up the National Commissioner came up. Then I would understand, well, it's one of many meetings and we can't pin you down to the 22nd of January. If it's a once-off discussion, it's of sufficient seriousness that I don't understand that you don't remember. If you were in that meeting and you've told us you participated in that meeting. You can comment if you want to.
Commissioners, I understand where the commissioner is coming from, but I honestly don't remember that conversation.
And if you read those blocks, you'll see that the IGI was to give an intelligence file. Can you see that?
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah. But if you don't recall, I can't take it any further.
Perhaps more accurately, if you say you don't recall,
yes, if you
then there's an important nuance there. Yes, Mrs.
No, I was talking about the NASCOM one. The IGI one, I did indicate that, yes, there was a request for me to arrange that meeting.
Yes, Ms. Bowen.
The one last issue that I'll canvass with you, two last issues. My apologies. Two issues that I'll canvass with you relatively short. Now, when you testified earlier, you told us that there were two experiences that have shaped how you've approached these matters. And you mentioned after your testimony at the Zondo Commission and secondly the kidnapping. Now, the kidnapping happens after a lot of this has happened. So I'll focus on the victimization, right? That you want us to have regard to the victimization that happens at IPID, right? Now, was your view that if you were to say something about what was happening at IDEC, you would be victimized? And if the answer is yes, by who?
Commissioners, how I viewed this whole matter at the time was that based on my experience and what I went through, sometimes standing up to things that are wrong, you end up being a victim yourself. And I know that may not be satisfactory, but at that time, I took a view that when the ID takes a particular decision, I fall in with it. And that's what I did.
The problem with that is if you want to be a leader, which you are, you should not put up your hand to be appointed as a leader. If that's your attitude, you just should not put up your hand to be a leader. In fact, standing up to authority may even be expected of officials who are by far junior to you. So with you, it's worse.
And I accept that, Chair.
Yeah.
Chair, the last aspect that I wanted to canvass is in relation to an incident that happens around the 24th of July, 2026. I just want to preface and say the reason why I make mistake with numbers is I have numeric dyslexia. So I see something, but I read something else. So this is 24 July 2026. And this was after a staff meeting. And Ms. Ramsamy wasn't there, and you then spoke to Ms. Ramsamy. Do you recall that? In particular, she was wondering what she had done. Do you recall that? In particular,
No.
she was asking you what she had done to Advocate Johnson
Okay.
and Investigator Paramore. Do you recall that incident?
I
had a lot of conversation with Ms. Ramsamy. Maybe you can remind me.
Don't you want to be more direct?
I can be more direct.
It is.
Yeah. Ms. Ramsamy, because she's not done with her testimony, I'll say she will testify that during that conversation, when she asked you what she had done to Advocate Johnson, your response was that her problem started when Ms. Ramsamy was disagreeing with Chief Paramore, and that Advocate Johnson listens to Chief Paramore. Is that the situation that
I think I would
was
have
at
said
the office, and that you were?
Yes.
And that was the known situation at the office.
Yes.
Which means that Chief Paramore had an immense power, because in there you said to her that Advocate Johnson listens to Chief Paramore.
Yes, that's true.
Now, in that conversation, she will testify that you also told her that Chief Paramore approached you after a meeting and told you to speak to her, Advocate Ramsamy, and Mr. Rapesu, so that the situation can be fixed, because if it isn't fixed, they, being Mr. Paramore, would be arrested and charged. Do you recall that? Mr. Paramore would be charged. Do you recall that?
Yes, there was that conversation, and yes, Chief Perumal did approach me and to say I must talk to them, and that I don't think that he would have said charge, but they would be in trouble. I think that's how I remember it.
And who were the they that would be charged? Was it Chief Paramore?
Yes,
Or would be in trouble according to the witness?
Yes, he was referring to himself.
And do you know why they would have been in trouble?
Well, I think at the time it was clear that the issues of how they dealt with the matter would come up,
So
because in that meeting there was a file that Rapeso had, and then in that file it would appear that they had inserted some information which was not part of the file, and Rapeso indicated in the meeting that those documents, which, if I recall, were related to the forklifts, were not part of that file, and they would have been inserted in that file. And fortunately, he had done a record of everything that is supposed to be in that file, and those documents were not part of that file.
And this would have also been after or in the midst of Advocate Johnson's evidence before this commission.
Yes.
And so Mr. Paramore had approached you so that you talk to those two, because they were the ones who knew about what they were doing.
Yes.
Thank you. Chair, I don't have any further questions for this witness.
Thank you, Ms. Bowe. No re-examination, Mr. Ramatsegisa.
None, Chair, and Commissioners.
Thank you. Mr. Sissoko, after a long day, you are excused, but should issues arise that require that you be recalled, that may happen. And you have heard Ms. Bowe say that Ms. Ramsamy is going to say something that relates to you or is about you. So you are excused for now, but I'm just saying we don't know now, but there may be that possibility, but you are excused.
That will be in order, Chair.
We are not sitting tomorrow. I had a prior commitment before there was to be any extension. The hearing of evidence would have ended on the 31st of July. So I got involved in commitments that I simply cannot get out of. So we are not sitting tomorrow. And on Monday it's a public holiday. So we adjourn and resume at 9:30 on Tuesday.
Women's Day, Chair, to be specific on Monday.
At least you cannot accuse me of not being cognizant of that. Go to the opinion piece on the Daily Dispatch of today. You'll see that I'm very much cognizant. Let's adjourn until then.